Okay, so what we're going to look at right now, you got your notes ready to roll, is taking what we've been doing for the last week to the next level and actually solving these equations. So don't necessarily have to write this, I'm just reminding you, y'all be quiet. If we have a polynomial function that looks something like that, and you're told to solve, find the zeros, find the roots, find the solutions, find the intercepts. All of that means the same thing. That is all the same. All you're doing is finding the places where the graph crosses the x-axis. So if I had an equation for that beautiful lightning bolt graph that I drew there, I would know it had 3 solutions because I can see it cross the x-axis 3 times. Okay? This is why we've been practicing with factoring so much, because factoring is going to be one of the main ways for solving these. Okay? Because if we can break it down to the factors, just like we did with the quadratics, we can set those factors equal to 0, because 0 is the value of that x-axis. Set the factors equal to 0, and then solve. Alright, so let's jump in 2 feet first. I've got 5x cubed minus 40x squared. Deep breath, Tori, you're okay. Plus 80x is equal to 0. And our directions say to solve. Okay, so my first plan, my first thought is going to be doing exactly the same stuff when we factored. Because if I can break this down to something easier to solve, that's what I need to do. And so Grant has noticed that there's a 5 in common in all 3 of those terms. And that's correct. There's also something else. Okay, all 3 of these are divisible by 5x. Remember, first step in factoring is to check for the GCF. Y'all alright?
No, you're going too fast.
Well, there wasn't a whole, hold on, we gotta go back, but there wasn't a whole lot that was new. Okay, you're fine. So, you'll be thinking about taking a 5x out of that equation.
Destiny Hill and Malaya Degler, please come to the high school office.
I actually moved my camera away from my feeder because people were cutting through on their 4-wheelers, so I haven't looked at it. Thank you, Steve.
I got a big this first time that you've been on camera with the
Okay, about race with me. Alright, so what we were talking about right here. First, we're going to just start like we've been doing, and we're going to try to factor this. So it does have a GCF of 5x. So when we factor it, we're backwards distributing, so we're taking a 5x out of that whole function. So if it was a 5x cubed, and I divided it by 5x, what will be left in this first place?
5x squared.
Just a 1x squared.
1x squared.
Okay. Bring down that minus sign. It was a 40x squared. I divided it by 5x. What would be left?
9x. Negative 9x.
It'd be 8. 8x. Good.
I think 45.
You're all right. Bring down this plus sign. It was an 80x, and I divided it by 5x. 16. It'd be a 16. Very good. Very good. Okay. Now what we've got in this parentheses is a trinomial. Okay, when we've got a trinomial, we made a note a couple of days ago. It said you can check your A times C. So my A here is 1, and my C is 16. So 1 times 16, are there any factors of positive 16 that would add to negative 8? What 2 numbers can I multiply that get me a positive 16, but add them and it get me a negative 8? Laney Joe said, close, Grant. They got to be the same sign to multiply to make a positive, right?
I was thinking add because you have to have negative 8.
Yeah. Negative 4 plus negative 4?
Equal positive 8.
No. Those negatives are tricking you up today, Grant. Alright, so here's where we're going. Y'all stay with me. We bring down our 5x because that will still be important for getting our answer. And then this trinomial is going to break up to have an x and an x. And then those factors that Laney, Joe, and Grant helped find will be a -4 and a -4.
That's your answer?
Almost. We're so close, and it's just baby steps now. We've done the hard stuff to finish to get the answer. Once you've gotten it broken down as far as it'll go, all you do is take each of your individual factors, set them equal to 0, and solve. So right here, this 5x, that is a factor. So I write, you get a new color so you can see we're solving now. I write 5x is equal to 0. So I know that
The 0 divided by
x has to equal 0.
and x equals
That's
+5
one of
plus
my
5.
answers. Okay?
5 plus x equals 4.
Here, if I set this one where Grant is, x minus 4 is equal to 0. That gets me a 4. What am I going to get on this last one? Same thing. Okay, I'm going to waste some smartboard ink this time to show you, but since it's the same factor, you'll get the same answer, so you don't have to show that work every time. So what we have here, these are the places that graph would cross the x-axis. So my answers, I can just circle them down here. Sometimes you'll see people write it like that. Whoa, we got some music. One thing me and Miss Stewart were talking about the other day, she was a little aggravated. Her class tried to write this like an ordered pair. They put it in parentheses like 0, 4. That would mean you go over 0 and up 4. That's not what that means. Remember the previous page I showed you? This would be like, it would hit right there at 0 and then it would hit right there at 4. It's not an ordered pair. Okay, y'all catching what I'm throwing there? Alright, now we're going to learn, and I don't remember if it's later in the week or next week, about turning points where these funny looking graphs turn. Okay, and when they turn, that's sometimes why, most of the time why you get the same answer more than once. Because they spend a little more time there. Think about if you're driving or riding in a car and you go to turn down a road, you slow down a little bit. So you spend a little bit more time there. So that's why you'll see more than one answer like that sometimes. So if you think about, whoops, I need a marker. Oh, here we go. If we think like right here, oh, I'm moving all kinds of stuff. On this graph, well, let me do it this way. Right there, it turns, so that answer might show up more than once. Especially sometimes when we get to like 4th and 6th powers, you'll have real fat bases down there. You can see it stayed down there longer times. All right, let's try another one of these because you did not horrible, but we got to practice, practice, practice. I got what we need on that page. I know I was splashing pages all the time at you. So you'll see a couple of you writing. That's okay. It's okay. Don't want to go before you're ready. Alright, let's look at 2x cubed plus 12x squared plus 18x is equal to 0. And our directions all period today are going to say solve unless I tell you otherwise.
Okay.
You got
I
it.
don't know what you're doing at all.
To solve a polynomial function, our best method is factoring. Which I didn't teach you that. I reviewed it with you. Somebody in middle school and junior high taught you that. So we've been reviewing it since a week ago.
Yeah.
First step,
You just do that, but
Uh-huh.
then they're going to do it.
once you get those factors, you set them equal to 0.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
First step in factoring is look for a GCF.
2 and x.
Okay, everybody figure out, look at it. Hunter, you're about to lose it. Look at it, figure out what Grant said. The GCF is a 2x. Everybody agree? 2 will go evenly into all 3 of those even numbers, and they all have at least an x to the first. So all we're going to do is divide that whole thing by 2x. It's just like reducing it. So if it was a 2x cubed and we divided it all by 2x, what's left in the first place? Not a 2, we took the 2 out.
X squared.
So just x squared, because we took the 2 out.
Plus 6.
No, you're not. Okay, plus,
6x.
then Grant said 6x. Y'all following that? Because 12 divided by 2 is 6.
But why doesn't it take the x away if you're taking away?
Because it just shift them down.
We took an x to the first out, so these are going to lose a power every time.
But that means an 18 is not going to have an x.
Correct.
It's just going to be 9.
Okay, then on the last one, our 18x divided by 2x is just 9.
And then you check your A and your
I
C.
think I understand.
Okay, now we got a trinomial in that parentheses, so we check
3 and 3.
1 times 9. Are there any numbers that I can multiply to make 9 but add to make 6?
3 and 3.
Okay, so we just keep our 2x, and the 3 and 3 are both positive. So this one's just like the first one we did. We're going to get that same answer twice, aren't we? Okay. Oh, I forgot to write equals 0, my bad. So 2x equals 0. So what does that mean that x has to be? 0. Si, senor. X plus 3 equals 0. What does that mean that x has to be? That's it. That's all that takes.
Yeah. Yep. I heard there was like a chance of snow sometime soon.
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to drop a lot
Yeah.
tonight.
The rain's supposed to clear out this afternoon, but the temperature's supposed to be falling all day.
Yes, like the high this afternoon is like 30.
Hopefully it's 40.
Yeah, it's like 40 by 30.
Little kids getting on the bus in shorts and t-shirts.
They're going
Y'all are gonna go over.
He's got shorts and a tank top.
Yeah, Monday night it's supposed to be 23 degrees. 80% chance of snow.
Yay.
It's Arkansas.
It's going to be 90 Monday.
Actually, I want to know what or that text.
Okay,
I don't, but I do.
let's talk about this one.
You know what? If you would.
Directions are the same. Listen, shh. Directions are the same. We're finding the zeros. It can say find the zeros, find the roots, find the solutions, find the intercepts. All that just means solve. So our directions are the same on that. But I didn't make this one equal 0. I said it equals f of x. That doesn't matter to you. I'm trying to get you used to seeing all the different ways the problems can be written. So it means the same thing. You can just take that f of x out and put equals 0 if
Okay,
you
I
want
was going
to.
to ask you, but we just said
It
it equals
means
0.
exact same thing, yes.
Is that 32?
Yes, that's a 32, yes. Okay, so we got a higher power this time.
But you still said it's
Still going to do it the same way, but what I want you to remember is last week sometime we made a chart of what these different graphs would look like. The first two graphs, the first two functions that we solved had the degree odd, which meant those were the ends going in different directions. Those were the disco graphs. This one's got an even degree, so the ends are going to go in the same direction. That's a negative a, so these would both be going down.
It'll be
Oh.
Yes.
max.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into relative mins and maxes next week, so you're right there. Okay, so we do still need to try to break this down. GCF
Negative 2x.
is a negative 2, but it's not an x. Why is this one not an x?
Because it's not an order.
Good, the 32 doesn't have an x. So all I can take out here is a negative 2. So what if it was a negative 2x to the fourth and I took a negative 2 out?
It'd be x to the fourth.
Very good. 16x squared divided by negative 2.
It'd be
Negative 8.
negative 8.
Good. And then go ahead, ask me.
Negative 6.
Hold on, we got a question.
So, if it's a negative, you take away the plus.
Yes, because remember on those other problems after we took out the GCF we could factor farther. And so since that a is a negative, if I can turn it to a positive, it'll make the job easier in the long run. Okay, keep going, y'all. We're good. Negative 32 divided by negative 2. Good, positive 16. Okay, now is what I was just talking to Riley about. That can factor farther. That some people will be scared of it because it has an x to the fourth. An x to the fourth you can treat just like an x squared. When it had, on the previous problems, when it had x squared with some other stuff, it broke up to an x and an x, right? If it has x to the fourth with some other stuff, it'll break up to an x squared and an x squared. Okay, so we can do the same thing on this. It will just break to x squared, x squared. So I'm still going to do my a times c, which will give me 1 times 16 is a positive 16. We had this one earlier. What multiplies to make a positive 16, but adds to make a negative 8? Good, 100, negative 4, and negative 4. So check this out. I'm going to bring my negative 2 down. And here's what we were just talking about. That'll be an x squared minus a 4 and an x squared minus a 4. I'm going to go ahead and put my equal 0 because I'm about ready for it. Some of y'all put it a long time ago. Okay. On the previous problems, when we took a GCF out, it also had a variable with it. It said like 2x equals 0, and that's a true statement that you can go ahead and solve. But now my GCF that I took out says negative 2. So tell me what happens if I put that equal to 0.
Wrong.
That's just completely wrong. Just like CJ said, that's a dummy answer. Negative 2 does not equal 0, and it never will. Okay, so when you just have a number out there like that, that's throwaway. You're not even going to worry about that anymore. It's just like reducing 2/4 to 1/2. You did it, you're done with it, don't worry about it anymore. Okay? But don't forget, if it's got a variable, you can solve it. But just a dumb statement like CJ said, you just leave it alone, throw that out. So now I can break these down farther or solve them like they are. It's equally easy. Okay, I will. Thank you, Chloe. I'll solve them like they are. But if I wanted to break them down, it would be a difference of squares. X plus 2x minus 2, right? Keep that in mind. X plus 2x minus 2, because you're going to see that in just a second. To solve them like they are, the reason that Chloe knows you can solve them like they are is there's no b. So you can just get rid of the stuff.
Well, I was just thinking you said they're equally easy, so why would you do extra steps if you didn't know?
I'm with you.
So, x is all of them negative 2?
So I would add that 4 to both sides. So x squared equals 4. And then I would undo the squared by square rooting. So what's the square root of 4? It can be positive or negative 2.
Is that what equals below?
Mm-hmm. Now, no, just write it. Here, if I had factored this farther, instead of letting Chloe tell me what to do, if I had taken that and wrote x plus 2, x minus 2, wouldn't that produce the same answer? Yes, so it doesn't, that's why I said they're equally good. It doesn't matter. Good job. I think that'd be a fabuloso idea. Did I go to? Do I need to back that up? Is everybody done right?
I'm done.
Okay. We are. There is another type that we're fixing to cover, so let me let you try one of those first. Okay, this one is very, very, very similar to that last one that we did together. X to the fourth minus 18x squared plus 81. I want you to try that one by yourself. X to the fourth minus 18x squared plus 81. Try it. Check it with your neighbor.
Wouldn't x should be 1?
Yes, there's no number in front of it, yes.
Now, not that a is negative with x. It's not so it says that minus 18. Or change it to plot.
Your A is not negative.
So you just say the same?
Yeah, this one, Grant, does not have a GCF to take out.
It does not.
The only thing you could take out would be a 1, and that wouldn't change it. It's the same as the last one. You just don't have that first step.
Oh,
Good
it's
suggestion.
fine.
Oh,
Okay. It comes C.
Okay, so since we don't have any number before the X,
if that won't change anything. So you don't have a GCF other than 1, so you just go down to your A times C now. Okay, it's confusing people that this one's easier than the last one. There is no GCF here other than 1. So I've actually given you less work. You don't have a GCF to take out, so just do your A times C. Go to that step.
you just keep the same numbers, but you put equals.
Because you'll take your full, your
Okay.
Sure.
break it up to X. Put it into right here. Put it into. And it goes equal to 0. So you set equal to 0. So the X squared plus 9 minus 9 equals 0 minus 9 equals 0 plus 9. X squared equals square root of 9. X squared plus or minus 9. X
What's the square root of 9? Alright, so I need to know, I told you there was no GCF, and you realize that an x to the 4th will break down as an x squared and an x squared, so everybody had that so far so good.
No.
Yeah.
I appreciate your honesty.
Wouldn't
Riley.
it be -9 and -9?
Yes, it would be. A times C is a positive 81. So to multiply, not your final answer, but that your factors, yes, that's what you meant. To multiply to make a positive 81, but add to make a negative 18, it would have to be a -9 and a -9. Okay? Now, I can factor those farther if I want to, because those are both difference of squares, or I can just go ahead and solve them since they don't have a b. So I'll say x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. To get the x all by itself, you would add that 9. So you'd have x squared is equal to 9. Undo the squared by square rooting, and the square root of 9 can be positive or -3.
I did it right.
Had a kid.
Okay, I understand the last step, but I don't get the first step.
That's the old stuff.
I know.
1 times 81 is 81. So what can you multiply to make 81, but add to make your b, which is -18? So if you don't know those, then you just have to list all the factors of 81 and go through them and check them.
So you add and it's equal.
Multiply to make whatever, most of the time grade is 1, which is nice. Multiply to make 81 is going to be 1. And add to make your b, -18. Okay, look at those.
I can see Marshall.
Alright, look at this thing. This is something new. Alright, we got x cubed. Y'all ready? This is something different. X cubed minus 8x squared, Chloe don't wait, plus 11x plus 20 is equal to 0. And our directions are the same, it says to solve. Our best method for solving in polynomial functions is still going to be factoring. Okay? This one is not going to factor, but you don't know that yet, so we got to go through and see why. So the first thing I look for is a GCF in all 4 terms. There's not one. If the 20 had an x, I could take an x out, but it doesn't, so I can't. So there's no GCF in all 4 terms. After that, I remember that when we made that little chart the other day, when there were 4 terms, it said to group. So I could put the first 2 in a group, instead of positive x cubed, yeah. First 2 in a group, y'all be quiet. And the second 2 in a group. Okay, don't write this down because this isn't going to work. I'm showing you why. X squared would be a GCF here, which would leave me with an x minus 8. When we did this grouping stuff, in order for this to work, you had to have something in common. So I need to be able to get another x minus 8. Well, there's no GCF with an 11 and a 20 other than a 1. So that would stay 11x plus 20. So I don't have anything in common. So that is not factorable.
So it's no solution?
No, there is solutions. Here's the fun part. This is when synthetic division, the upside down box, this is when this will come into play. If it cannot factor, you can try to simplify it using synthetic division. So, I'm going to make my upside down box. Y'all with me? That is a 1x cubed, a negative 8x squared, an 11x, and a 20. Alright, here is the not fun part. What number am I going to put on the outside? 0. You can't divide by 0.
I know, I was kidding.
It's a D-slap. Alright, you take the factors. Shh, listening. You take the factors of your constant divided by the factors of your leading coefficient. So that means our constant is 20. It's the one with that constant means the one without a letter. So 20 can be positive or negative. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. Right? Those are all the things you can multiply to make 20. My leading coefficient is the cubed, so that's just a 1. That's good news, because if this had been like a 2 on the bottom, you could have had fractions. Alright, so what this means, this is my least favorite part of this whole big unit. This is trial and error with all of these combinations. So 1 over 1, I could try, a positive 1 could work, or a negative 1 could work. 2 over 1, a positive 2 could work, or a negative 2 could work. 4 over 1, 5 over 1, 10 over 1, and 20 over 1. So those are all of the possible things that will make synthetic division work. So possibly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 numbers. So if you're a bad guesser, you might try 5 of them before you find one that works. How will we know when it works?
It'll be positive.
When the remainder spot is a 0. Remember, it went into it evenly if that remainder was a 0. Good, Lane Joe. So, luckily you only have, how many did I count? 12? You only have 12. I mean, if you didn't have that to go by, you'd just be trying random numbers forever. So, constant over leading coefficient, choose from here, and we'll start plugging some in and trying to see if it works. My toys up here are better because I don't have to erase on paper or mark out on paper, but y'all are a little bit handicapped. Out of that list over there by River, pick me one to try. 4, I heard Lady Joe say first. If we get a 0 in the remainder spot, that means 4 is an answer. Okay? If not, we throw it out and try another one. So drop down your 1, 1 times 4 is 4. I add, negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. Multiply, 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. I think I'm going to go with Laney Joe to buy a lottery ticket. 11 plus negative 16 is negative 5. Multiply, negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. I add and get 0. So, she picked us a fabulous answer because we got a 0 in the remainder, so it only took one try that time. Okay, but hold on. 4 is one answer.
You gotta find another one.
Your highest power you started with, and I haven't told you this yet, that means you can have up to that many answers. So this function could have 3 answers, 2 answers, or 1 answer, right? So the good thing is, this started off as an x cubed, which means this line is an x squared, and you know how to solve something squared. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root, right? So we can keep doing guess and check, and that guess and check works real good when Laney's our guesser. We could keep doing that, but I would go to something I know for sure now. Okay, so I know this would be, it started off as a cube, so this is an x squared minus a 4x minus a 5. So my a is 1, my b is negative 4, and my c is negative 5. So, let me scroll. I've been having a cough and I'm about to lose my voice. Ooh. X, I haven't had a cough like yours yet. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I've got 16 plus 20, which is 36. Square root of 36 is 6. So 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 4 minus 6 is negative 2.
So
Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. And then don't forget the first answer that you got was synthetic division. So there are your 3 answers.
Wait, why is there not
Go ahead.
Never mind. I figured it out.
Got a kid.
Got a kid.
4 plus 6 is 10. 10 divided by 2. And then 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2.
Wait, so what was he?
5, negative 1, and 4. We got that 4 from the synthetic division. Okay, let's try another one of those. I've got x cubed plus x squared minus 14x minus 24. Now, this is what I'm going to do. And y'all know I've told you since the first day of school, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. If you don't always do it the exact same way I do, that does not mean you're wrong. But when I'm solving a polynomial function, if there are 4 or more terms, I'm going to go ahead and do synthetic. That's just my personal preference. Factoring with 4 is possible, but it's not always workable, and it's not always the easiest. So I'm going to go ahead, since I see I've got 4 terms, and I'm going to set that up for synthetic division. So I've got a 1x cubed, a 1x squared, a negative 14x, and a negative 24. But then I don't know what number to put outside. Okay? You got to tell me, what did we learn on the last problem on how to decide what number goes outside? What am I looking at? Okay, my constant, which is 24, and I'm not worried about the sign in front of it because I know I got to put plus and minus. So the factors of 24, let me get a new color and write those up here. 1 times 24, 2 times 12, I don't know why I write them like that. I think my teacher did when I was a little taught. 3 times 8, I didn't leave enough room. And then a 6 and a 4, 4 times 6, right? And then my leading coefficient is 1, So I need y'all to realize how fortunate you are when your leading coefficient is 1. Because something over 1 is always a whole number. If you'd have had a 2 here, you'd have been having some halves involved. Okay? So all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24, those can all be positive and negative. So out of this list, the 4 and 6 is supposed to be up there in a line. I didn't save enough room. Out of this list, save me something, pick me something to try. 4.
Again?
Okay? We'll try the 4. If that don't work, I heard Grant say 6, so we'll try the 4 first. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Y'all better latch on to Laney Joe. Negative 14 plus 20 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24.
Dang, she's smart.
Negative 24 plus 24 is 0.
She must have a cheat sheet.
So Laney got us the first answer. If you can work, visualize ahead and work a little bit backwards, you can. All right, so now look at these numbers. Okay, and let me talk to you about what Grant's doing, because I'm fixing to go there. If this had been an x to the 4th, y'all visualize, if this had been an x to the 4th, I would still be an x to the 3rd. So I would have to do another level of synthetic division. But since this was a 3rd, I'm now at a squared.
So we can use.
So let's talk about options here. Grant's already thinking quadratic formula, and I love it. That's great. But this can also A times C factor.
Was it 2 and 3?
So I could use my A of 1, B of 5, and C of 6, go the quadratic formula. Or I could find there is a pair that multiplies to make 6 and adds to make 5. So either one of those work. The factoring, the 2 and the 3 that both of the girls said is faster. So I'm going to do that. X plus 2 times x minus 3 is equal to 0. Set both of those equal to 0. Those both be pluses there. I messed up, right? X plus 2, x plus 3 equals 0. Set both of those equal to 0 and solve, and you got a negative 2 and a negative 3. And then don't forget that 4 that we got from the synthetic division. I wish it was the air conditioner. I'm burning up.
Me too.
It's always hot here.
I thought it was cold.
Pretty all
I think cold is dry. That's me every time I get I took a bath last night. It was pretty
I literally can't. I had
You have more than one truck. We have one. We have one truck.
If you really want to die, what do you take?
We
Bring your lunch full of water. Just sit under the bottle.
And tomorrow morning,
drink it. It's painless.
it doesn't get above 40 from 11.
Someone suffer.
Oh, God.
Feels like a school.
Okay, you're fixing to do this one on your own. Listen, this is an easier one. I'm not being completely mean to you. You're fixing to try this one on your own. There is a GCF. So you do not have to do the synthetic division guess and check on this. There is a GCF that says x cubed minus x squared minus 12x equals 0. So this is like one of the first ones we started with. Take out your GCF and then see if you can do some A times C stuff. Everybody's trying that one on their own right now. Let's try it.
The only thing you would need is one. That would be one. Because your B
It does.
so be one. So you can multiply this. This. Only it adds this and this.
It's not funny. I didn't do anything. I wouldn't come to. I would say. No, it's
Really?
it's crazy.
I've never seen Muscle move. I said go to my wife and go, yes.
All right, that should have been your first step. How'd you do it in step 1?
Good.
Just schmeezy? Okay. From there, we look at our A times C. 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. What can I multiply that makes negative 12 but adds to make a negative 1?
Negative 4.
Okay. Now let me push pause here and just rattle your brain for a minute. Could I have done synthetic division on this one to start?
Yes.
Yeah. It just would have been, more complicated because unless you're got Laney Joe guessing your numbers for you. But you could have done it. That will be my last go-to. I'll do synthetic division last. All right. So we bring that x down. We got an x with a minus 4, and we got an x with a plus 3. You've got 3 answers there. Do you see all 3 answers? Okay, you got x equals 0. Here, if x minus 4 equals 0, Hunter's right, that gets me a 4. And here, if x plus 3 is equal to 0, I get a negative 3. Good job. All right, I got one more for us to try. You're doing fabulous.
This one that's gonna blow us out of the water.
No. Okay. This one, you're trying on your own. Get it put up. Trying on your own. This is synthetic division. So you are going to have, your upside down box with a 1, a negative 10, a 19, and a 30. To figure out what goes outside of the box, your options are your factors of 30 over your factors of 1. So it's trial and error with plus minus factors of 30 over 1. If you want to go to a board to try it, you can, or you can try it on your paper. It doesn't matter. So either one, go.
times 30 is 30.
It's 4, not 4. Four's an option.
It's always 4.
Is 4 a factor of 30?
Look,
No, it's not 4.
4, 8, 12, 16.
He just
I knew that.
You literally just figured out the problem.
Okay, I've listed my possible answers. Possible answers could be positive negative 1, positive negative 2, positive negative 3. Those are all your possibilities. So do not trial and error something. Listen, and do not trial and error something that's not one of the possibilities. You'd be wasting your time. Pick out of that bowl. Pick out of that bucket. If you get one, if you try one that doesn't work, you just got to mark it out and go try another one until you find one.
Let's go. That's right. We got it right the first time.
Good guessing. I like it.
You're kind of lying. You got it this right. You got it right.
Right.
Right, it doesn't drop.
That's what makes it really good. Oh, it's fine.
Grant, I'm not sure you started your division off right. Set it back up. Drop that one all the way to the very bottom. And then you start with that times your 6.
Oh my god. That's so bad.
you're making me so bad right now.
You know, that's what you're now this is what that is. So you go to 5. So you go back to that. Your 6, that's your answer. Yes.
No, you had you didn't get it
Okay, what you got? Drop your first number. So drop the 1 all the way. So now you'll do 1 times 5, and that will go in the next.
Okay, so you multiply the first number times
Everyone but one.
Yes, and then you multiply that times what's up there. That's 5 times negative 5.
What? 25. Negative.
No, put it underneath the 1, and then you add those.
why do you add those?
I do not know. That's what you do every time. I don't know how they figured out that.
That's what I've been getting.
If I'm on the side, and if I'm in the middle, I'm grounded.
I don't know.